So good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Build Your Trust in Your Educational Software Ecosystem. We're going to be spending the next 45 minutes on a very important topic, student data privacy. I am Monica Watts. I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. I'm the Senior Director of Learning Innovation for edtech. If you're not familiar with edtech, we are the world's leading member-based nonprofit community. We're a partnership of local education agencies, state departments of ed, higher education institutions, and edtech suppliers or vendor partners that you may refer to. Our motto is, altogether, we power learner potential. So I'm really excited about our panelists today, some amazing leaders in edtech, and I'm going to introduce you to them in just a minute. Before we dive into the content and introductions, just a few housekeeping things. Feel free to ask questions. There's a question box, or put them in the chat. We have plenty of time allotted for those questions. And I also want to remind you that the conversation that we're having today is one that we have ongoing within the professional community at edtech. So if this is something of interest, being a member in edtech and learning more about the Trusted Apps program as part of your student data privacy practice and how you can participate in this community, we invite you to go to trustedapps.org for more information. So now I want to introduce you to our amazing guest speakers today. First, from Scottsdale Unified School District in Arizona, is Dr. Michelle Watt. Michelle's career has spanned both K-12 and higher education. She's widely recognized as a respected edtech leader in Arizona, as well as throughout the nation. So hello, Michelle.
Hi, happy to be here.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Nathan. Nathan Miller is the Chief Information Officer from the Georgia Department of Education. Nathan's career has focused on cybersecurity in his roles both at the LEA level in Jeff Davis, as well as at the state. And his leadership is very pivotal in the cybersecurity initiative at the Georgia DOE. Hi, Nathan.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
And Kevin. Kevin is the Data Privacy Officer at edtech, and Kevin brings years of experience working at Houston ISD on their app vetting framework, and the last several years at edtech, principally responsible for driving our app vetting program and working in collaboration with suppliers to vet their privacy policies and terms against the edtech privacy rubric. So again, just a few notes for housekeeping purposes. We are recording this webinar. We are going to share a link to that recording with all of you that have registered by email. And again, remind and encourage you to submit your questions through the Q&A during the conversation. So I'm going to provide a little bit of context into the challenge before we move on to the questions. And I don't think this is anything that's new for any of you that are listening. We, on average, understand that there are over 1,400 edtech products that are used in schools every month, some of those with specific targeted advertising, obviously causing a challenge for our LEAs and our state agencies in supporting all of these application requests, and also incorporating principles of interoperability into those applications in their digital ecosystem. So we're going to talk today about that challenge and the partnerships that are available and solutions that are available as well. So I want to begin with my first question, directed to Michelle and Nathan, and tell us a little bit about your current role in your organization and how you're protecting student data privacy.
Thank you. I am serving the 21,000 students in the Scottsdale Unified School District. We have pre-K through 12 students here. And as the Chief Systems Officer, so leading the IT department, I am fortunate to have joined the organization at a time when processes were already set up for vetting applications, signing data governance agreements with our vendors, but there were some limitations of what we could do and could control and could not. Any other Google organizations out there might be aware of some of the changes that have just happened in the last couple of years. But so there's always room for improvement. And some of that's around communication with our stakeholders or just the process that we use to protect student data privacy. So happy to be here, support what was already in place, and continue making improvements, including partnering with edtech.
Okay. And Nathan?
So as the Chief Privacy Officer, Chief Privacy and Information Security, but a lot of my work revolves around the privacy world. A lot of our state organizations, other state agencies, research organizations come to us for student data. So a large component of my job is in the legal realm, working with those agencies to be sure that we're in compliance with FERPA and any other federal regulations. When we share that data, working on legal agreements, but also driving the policy and driving our ethos as a state agency on behalf of our LEAs when it comes to data privacy. We have a new, as of about 2 weeks ago, a new training team, data literacy and privacy team that has moved over to my office. So we're in the process of getting that team trained up on data privacy, and we're going to offer more training directly to our districts on data privacy. We've always pointed them towards PTAC and the resources there, and some other free resources around, but we as an agency, we're wanting to shore up the supports that we're able to provide to our districts. And so that's one of the current projects that we're working on now, to be able to offer a lot more robust training directly to our LEAs. And the last thing, we've really worked with a core group of leaders from around the state to, we've referred to them affectionately as our task force, but we use them basically as a sounding board to really get direct feedback from our districts on what their needs are. And these are all district level leaders. We have superintendents, we have technology leaders, we have instructional folks in there. It's a really robust cross section of leaders from across the state. And one of the things that we heard loud and clear from them was that they needed some more supports around data privacy. And that is how we begin our journey with edtech. And I can go into more detail about that later, but those are the primary three ways that we're supporting data privacy across the state of Georgia.
Great. So Kevin, I'm going to direct this question to you. Tell us how you would describe the current bar of privacy in K-12 as it stands, and some of the challenges that are being faced. You're muted.
That is a great question, Monica. I would say that the current bar for privacy, it keeps getting higher and higher. As more and more digital resources become available, more and more so teachers, schools, districts, they want to use them, they want to explore them. And with new technologies coming out, they want to use them, they want to explore them, which makes it difficult to find sort of the right solution, the right sort of framework or standard to get behind, because there are so many out there. And to where it's becoming more of I would say a roadblock for all of the solutions are becoming more so of a roadblock. So that the bar continues to grow as we continue to try to put solutions together. We're seeing that those solutions are becoming a part of the problem. So it's tough to navigate with all of the different, I would say, solutions that are out there.
Michelle or Nathan, anything? You know, I feel like it's becoming a better and better time to be having this conversation, because the supports that we have from groups like edtech, or even just awareness among our vendors, continues to improve. And that's because of the history that we have of people in K-12 or the organizations that support us saying, hey, this is what we need to our vendor partners, and them raising their own bar of what not only their practices, but how transparent they are around their practices. If we don't know that they are safely using our data, then that it's perceived as a barrier to student data privacy. So incredibly more supports for that, and also the higher expectations. So it's really great when we reach out to a vendor and their response is, oh yes, we have people who can help you with that question, or we have reviewed the state or national data privacy agreement, and here's our response to that. So that work having already been done has been very beneficial.
I would add to that one of the bigger challenges we see, especially at the LEA level, is the ease of access to a lot of online applications for our teachers and students, and a lack of awareness. A lot of them just really don't understand the implications of clicking to accept that terms of service, or the implications of inputting potentially sensitive student data into a system that they don't understand what those terms of service are. So the awareness piece is big. We have some legal challenges, and I've talked to chief privacy officers across the country, and they all have a similar story to tell, where the ability to adopt a statewide data privacy agreement that districts can require vendors to adhere to. A lot of state agencies are hesitant to do that just because of the legal implications of formally endorsing a data privacy agreement that they then turn over to the districts. And that's not something that's unique to Georgia, but it's definitely a problem that we need to find a way to overcome.
So Nathan, going back to the awareness, reflecting on, when they're clicking on that, signing the terms of service, what advice would you have for those listening? Is it training is a huge piece to this, I would imagine?
Training is a core component. And two, a lot of the feedback that we got from districts prior to our partnership with edtech was kind of twofold. They didn't have a way to put a procurement policy in place because they didn't have a way to vet the applications. And two, they didn't really have awareness of all of the applications that their folks were using, because the teachers did not feel empowered. There was no process in place by which they could request that applications be formally adopted by the district. And so in a vacuum, they would just kind of go out and do their own thing. And so that conversation led to, we have adopted a set of, we call them our 21st century technology standards. It was our first run at having some standards around this type of technology in place for the state of Georgia. But we put those standards in place, and then we immediately went out and started seeing what solutions were out there and settled on edtech trusted apps. Did that answer the question adequately?
Yeah, that's great. We actually have a question from an audience member for the panel. How do we sell it to our administration? Obviously, the technical folks get it, but if upper level leadership, superintendent level, cabinet doesn't get it, then we're just spinning the wheels. And I'm kind of reading this question maybe coming from someone that's in the technical role. Any advice for them?
I would advocate that, your IT leadership should be a part of that executive leadership team, cabinet level, have the ear of the executive leaders to help them to understand the implications, because this is just one area of risk. And our leaders are used to balancing risk and determining where we can accept risk and where we can't. So in our approval process, we have a partnership between IT and our teaching and learning group, and they are empowered to make a lot of those decisions. But if we come to a resource that they can't agree on, or there's not a clear path forward, then that does get raised to our cabinet level. So on the one hand, our cabinet or executive leaders don't want to be in the weeds of all of these decisions. So we need a process to keep that moving along smoothly, but they are also they know that some decisions are going to come to their levels. So because we need to, have them weigh in on what risk they might be willing to accept as far to further innovation or certain educational objectives. And that really is their role. I think that having them involved in some of these conversations with groups like One EdTech or COSN has resources for that is helpful, but presenting it as another type of risk is something that they are very familiar with.
Great. Thank you for that, Michelle. So this is a question that comes specifically from our experience as perhaps parents, stakeholders, or guardians during the pandemic, and the lens that has focused on EdTech and school districts as far as student data and information. So can you tell us a little bit from your perspective, how has student information changed for all stakeholders, parents and guardians? And I'll start with Kevin.
Thank you. So I would say it has changed sort of drastically, thinking back to way back when I was a young boy. It was always, the teacher was always pull out your pen, pull out your paper, and the type of information that you would put on that paper, top right-hand corner, I don't know if that's universal, but it was always put your name, the name of the classmate, and just some very, little bit of information. And you were the only one that would see that, your teacher would see it, and depending on the grade that you got on that assignment, your parents may or may not have seen it. And so it stayed very in-house. It's really not much information, but it's changed now so drastically. Now you're pulling out a device, you're logging in, and you're giving more information than you used to. Then I would imagine most of us used to give. And it's accessible to potentially a lot more people can see that information. A lot more information is being given than we used to. And so I would say from that perspective, parents now have to get more involved. It's no longer just looking at a piece of paper and seeing what you're doing or what information or how all of that information being shared or what information being shared. Now I have to go and I have to look at all of the different tools and things that you're touching and consider whether or not it's safe or not, whether it's okay for you to use. And it's so much more in depth, much more time consuming than it used to be.
Yep. Great. Nathan, Michelle, anything to add?
I would say that the ease of exchange of information has really impacted the way that, or impacted the potential exposure of student data. Anyone who's been in a district over the last 10 years has just seen the explosion of just data sharing in general. Even from the SEA level, we see that the demands on data, the demands on us to provide student data, it just grows year over year. So the ease of exchange and the ease of, like to Kevin's point, years past when everything's pen and paper, obviously you don't have that same risk, but now it's a 10-minute job for a teacher to spin up another application that they've selected and have their entire class roster in there. They may have date of birth in there, depending on the application. And just the technical barrier to sharing that information has become so low that this is something that we have to actively keep a handle on.
Yeah, I think Michelle, perhaps talk a little bit about, I think we've spoken about this. The game has changed where student information is like a currency, right? And as Kevin was saying, and talk a little bit about that from your district perspective.
Absolutely. We know that our community is trusting us with this information, and Nathan, as Nathan pointed out, interoperability is fantastic. We need it, but we also need to be looking at, well, which data elements do we need in each platform to make it usable for our purposes? For example, date of birth might be essential because the reports that are coming back to the teacher are normed based on the actual age of that student. But if that's not an essential data point, then we should not be sharing it. One way that we've gotten manage some of that is if we can, we do want to look at some of our information by population, by our special education or other demographic information. But if we can pull data from a system into our data warehouse, then we don't have to share that demographic information out with every one of those systems. We can pull that data into our data warehouse and then do that analysis that is valuable and informative for our teachers. So just considering things like that and partnering with all of the different departments and schools as they are looking to implement solutions to achieve their goals, being their partners and being the people who will ask those questions and push back on just because we can doesn't mean we should.
So specific question came up recently, the challenge that many of our LEAs face when approving applications for CTE courses that are sometimes not approved for children under 18. They're designed for students in older than 18 or college level. I want to ask the panel, how do you manage the apps for CTE courses and that challenge? And I'm going to start with Michelle.
Oh, that is a challenge. We have our process where we're evaluating everything that comes through for either opening or blocking resources. And we've kind of actually carved our CTE folks out of it and given them a little boutique support because they have such unique needs. So they're listening to industry folks about what our graduates need to come and know. And so they are looking at some of those resources. So it's about working with them to look at a variety of resources and see if we can choose the best one that will satisfy the needs of their program. And working with those vendor partners, we've not gotten to a point yet where we've had to get parental permission for a unique solution that we've implemented, but I have heard that that's a solution some school districts implement because we really do want to meet the goals of career and technical education where these students are earning industry certifications and using industry type software, but we have to do that in a way that is safe and acknowledges that these are still high school students.
Thank you. So we were speaking earlier, Michelle was talking and Nathan about data minimization. And this is a question for the panel. How should districts be approaching their vetting and data privacy when it comes to data minimization and posture? And I'm going to start with Kevin.
This is probably one of my favorite terms here, data minimization, along with purpose limitations and privacy by design. So I've never understood why, like if I'm a supplier or in some cases schools, if given the current landscape of the different legal requirements and things that all of the types of ways you can get in trouble with collecting so much data, I've never understood it. It's like riding in a car with the top down and the windows up. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Do you want the wind or do you not want the wind in your hair? Which is not a problem for me either way. But, it just doesn't make sense. You can. So like if you were to walk in the parking lot and you saw my car, if you were a would-be attacker and you looked in the window of my vehicle, you wouldn't see anything. There wouldn't be nothing that would incentivize you to break in. The most you can get is probably the car itself. Or the factory radio. There's not much to incentivize you to break the window or try to go through the efforts of getting into my car. So I'm looking around. Okay, so for my wife's car, this is a completely different story. If you walked by her window and you looked in there, you would find a treasure trove of information. You could live your life as her. There's everything you need is in there. There's the credit cards, there's the wallet, there's checks. You will find even the keys to the car itself. Completely unlocked. So a ton of information is in there, which is a great incentive for someone to say, look, oh, wow, maybe I do want to take a chance and take that information. And all of that is to say that the more information that you collect, the more, you look more valuable to those would-be attackers. It makes it easier for them to want to attack you. So I would say practicing that data minimization, only collecting enough information for the functionality of the application itself is really what you want to focus on. And even if you're a school, imagine if with all of these digital resources, if you have 20 or 30 different math tools, I probably shouldn't have used math because now I have to give percentages, and that's not my strongest point there. Let's say, I don't know, if you have 20 different math tools, 20%, 17.6, I don't know. There's a percentage there that you're making yourself more attractive to a would-be attacker. The more data you collect, the more resources you allow into your school. Like if I was interviewing someone for a babysitting position or even a contractor, and I just open my door and say, hey, everybody come in. Every contractor, if you call yourself a contractor, come on in, let's all gather in and hope that none of you attack me or do anything or know someone who could attack you. So it's allowing the least amount of resources into your districts, and not having to vet so many. And I would say that's the best way is data minimization. Practice that, write it down, do what you have to do to practice data minimization, get some more information on it. But it's a great way to protect yourself. It's a great way not to open yourself up to be that attractive car with all of the valuables in it and be, taken advantage of. So love this question. Data minimization is probably one of my favorite terms when talking about privacy.
Thank you, Kevin. Nathan, any perspective from the state for the LEAs?
I'll actually revert back to my days as a CIO at a district. We use the roster server standard to do all of our rostering, or all of it that we possibly could. But the beautiful thing about the solution that we used is it lets you pare down the data set to the least necessary amount of data. So, right down to if it was just a specific course code that this application needed, we could do that. Or if it was just a specific class, just one class for one teacher, we could pare it down to just that data set and only the data elements, the individual data elements that were necessary for that application to function. And I know a lot of solutions are now beginning to implement some obfuscation technology so that you can encrypt data fields. So sorry about that. Instead of sending across the actual student ID, you can send an encrypted version of that student ID. So there are a lot of technologies out there now that allow you to trim down that data set to the least necessary data set and number of data elements that we highly encourage districts to take advantage of.
That's great. It's helpful.
I do want to add one other thing that I'm really grateful for. Our students have both Microsoft accounts and Google accounts, and our staff are increasing their awareness of student data privacy, but don't always recognize that logging into a resource using Google Login is sharing some data. And the amount of data that's shared through that process may vary. So I'm grateful that in both of those platforms, we have the ability to control which resources that is allowed to happen. That's a newer development in Google. And without that, it was eye-opening to see all of the different places where that had happened. So having those kinds of protections in place also enables us to then make sure that we know who we're sharing data with.
Great. Good tip. So for the panel, what advice would you give districts as to how they can impact meaningful change regarding raising the student data privacy bar in K-12?
I'll start with that one. I would say this is a great opportunity to adopt the see something, say something approach. It's always so suppliers that are we have an opportunity to work with suppliers that really don't know what they're doing. Those that are doing business as usual because no one has said anything to them and they end up on your do not use list doesn't help us at all. Being able to reach out to a contact or anyone in that organization and asking those meaningful questions, asking them things that you're not finding in their privacy policy has been very valuable for us as an organization. And I think it's served a lot of our members well as well. And then also, I would say, even if you're a small district, if you're a small district of 300, Leonidas did it. Well, I guess that's not a good example because I don't think that turned out too well for Leonidas in the 300. But they tried, right? They got somewhere in their efforts to say something, and I think that really does help because you really do become that silent hero of taking that extra time to send an email and get some back and forth sort of communication with that supplier and just giving them some information as to who their customer is and what they're actually looking for. Because you've done that work, and eventually another school that comes along will not have to do that work. And if we're all in the moment seeing something and saying something, the hope is that even with the unlimited amount of digital resources out there, that we can impact change. We can show our supplier community that these are the things that schools are looking for. So it doesn't matter how small you are or how large you are, as that collective voice, we can sort of help them get to where they want to be. And I think that's the best way, is to see something, say something, and do something.
As part of our adoption of the Trusted Apps platform statewide in the state of Georgia, one of the things that we put in that 21st Century Technology Standards document was the need for districts to adopt a software procurement policy, and specifically to put some guardrails in that policy and some really defined language around what they would and wouldn't allow vendors to do. And so when they have that in place, that gives them the footing that they need to stand on. If a vendor is not doing their due diligence, they have something they can show to that vendor as far as this is the expectation, this is the bar you need to meet for you to do business with us. And doing that across the state has really empowered districts, and a lot of our smaller districts, they don't really feel like they have the clout necessarily to move the needle, especially with a lot of the larger vendors. And so this is kind of giving them a voice in a way. They're part of a larger community, and when everybody's saying the same thing, it carries a lot more weight. So adopting those software procurement policies and using the Trusted Apps platform as that bar that they put all their vendors up against has proven really beneficial for our districts. And we've got a lot of really positive feedback based on that specifically since we've begun this program.
Yeah, I would say there are a lot of different entry points for this. And even if a lot of things are already established, there are always areas for improvement. So the important thing is to continue to be surveying your context and looking for those areas to do some of this work. Definitely partnering with teaching and learning is essential. And, they're feeling the pressure also to support a wide variety of things, perhaps too large of a variety of resources for learning in the classroom. And so whatever we can do together to guide people to those resources that have the appropriate privacy vetting, the curricular alignment, support from our teaching and learning staff. We're helping out in this cause and many others. So I would say, find your partners and take them along with you, your procurement partners and teaching and learning partners and all of those folks, and see where there's room to make progress.
So our last question is timely with all the media attention with AI recently. What opportunities and challenges do the emergence of technologies such as AI that collect analysis and location tracking, biometrics, perhaps, what is being done to address these challenges, and are they different from our current state?
I would say for these new technologies, and I guess specifically AI stuff with Chat GPT is really one of the hot topics right now. We really should be chomping at the bit to get involved. Think of it, a lot of these technologies, even though they're not technically in the infancy stage, they're starting to be used a lot more in education. And you should treat it as such. You know, you have the opportunity with the collective voice of everyone here within edtech and all of its members and the community to guide these new technologies, guide these new organizations. Because if you can imagine, if you're a new startup, or if you're a company and you want to get into a specific sector like in education, you're going to do some sort of research. You're going to want to try to find different use cases. You're going to want to know who your customers are, who those potential customers are, how this technology could potentially be used. And if they don't have anyone in that research team, or anyone who is doing the work that you do, the things that you see and go through and talk through every day, then they don't know what they don't know. I would say in these beginning stages, this is the time to reach out to those different technologies, those different companies, and let them know who their customers are, and let them know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Because I talked to hundreds and hundreds of suppliers, and they want to do what's right. They want to be in the best position to do business with you. They just really don't know what they don't know. So if you tell them, like, we need to know who owns the data, we need to know that, we need you to know that it's not acceptable to advertise to our students. It's not acceptable for you to use your tool in this way. And a lot of schools just like us, no matter how small or large you are, aren't going to use you because of these things here. And then they start to think about that goes back to the research teams and all these different things. And they start to grow. They start to conform to whatever you really, and to where you want them to be. And so I would say this is a great opportunity for those technologies that you are having doubts about, or a lot of fears about, like the different biometrics. I've heard a lot of tools with biometrics for athletes to put it in their equipment and games, so they can gain different types of analytics and things like that. That's the best time. Those ones that you are afraid of the most are the ones you should be talking to the most, and clearing out a lot of those concerns and fears, because they do have great uses for them, and they do have great educational value if you use them correctly, and if you guide these companies that are trying to get into this space, on how to responsibly mold their tools, thinking about privacy by design and things like that. So it's a great opportunity to help them out.
Nathan or Michelle?
I would say one of the important parts of this conversation is being aware of what your state laws are. Georgia does not have any laws regarding biometrics, but I know that's becoming a hot topic. New York has a law in the books. Florida has a law in the books. There's a lot of discussion among state legislatures around biometrics and AI. So stay on top of those conversations. If you have a voice within your legislative community, be sure that you're actively plugged into those organizations, whether that's you're in a state that has teachers unions, or you're in a state that maybe has some vehicle by which you can communicate with your state legislature. Be sure that you're staying on top of any laws. I know California has a consumer data privacy law that it was initially intended to impact primarily social media applications, but the way the law reads, it's a ban on applications that use algorithmic recommendations for minors. So obviously the education implications there are enormous, because how many of the applications that we use every day use algorithms for prescriptive type work with our students. So just being aware of that and trying to be a part of the conversation early on, if you have an avenue to do so, I would highly encourage you to do that if possible.
Great advice. So we do have a question from the audience. And the question is, what are some strategies that district staff, especially those involved in PD, professional development planning, can use to effectively educate teachers about data privacy? Have you seen any out-of-the-box ideas that have helped create that culture of privacy through training?
I mean, that's a constant battle. So I would love to hear ideas as well. But I can tell you that one of the things that has helped in our district is that we are working to educate folks about their own privacy. And so we do things like Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and constantly helping people understand that concept broadly and generally. Also partnering with our teaching and learning staff, because I know, many of us have heard of the TPAC model for professional learning, where you integrate technology knowledge, pedagogy knowledge, and content knowledge together. So how can we, as we're teaching teachers the best pedagogy practices or content knowledge for these tools, also include some of that technology concepts, like remembering to protect privacy. Those are a couple of the initial thoughts. And then implementing the Trusted Apps dashboard has been really beneficial for us, because teachers are used to looking at charts that have green and red and yellow and what all that means. So being able to show a snapshot of, hey, looking at the publicly available information about this organization or this platform that you're interested in, here are the colors associated with that around data privacy. Like, we can dig deeper to see what they'll actually agree to, but this is how what is there or what might be missing around what they say about how they use student data privacy. And that has been very effective.
So I want to thank our panelists for their time, their insightful answers. I want to also encourage you to learn more about the One EdTech community, the Trusted Apps program. As Michelle mentioned, and Nathan, the work that we've been doing around data privacy and vetting applications is going on over 9 years. Congratulations to Kevin and all the hard work that he and the team do in vetting applications, collaborating with our EdTech supplier partners in making changes, real changes for the betterment of the EdTech community when it comes to protecting student data privacy. As Kevin mentioned, it takes collaboration and partnership. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I encourage you to go to trustedapps.org. And again, I want to thank all of our panelists. Great conversation, and appreciate your time today from the audience. Thank you.